Good evening. Welcome to the Keene School District Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, April 1st. We are here in the Jonathan Daniels PD Center, which is where all of our committee meetings are now meeting, and we're also live streamed. Public input, we did not have any in the drive. There's no member of the public here to speak, but we will keep it open and available for 15 minutes in total. Let's get started. We've got a full agenda this evening. Can I have a motion to approve our committee minutes from March the 4th?
Second. Third.
Okay. All right. Any scribble corrections or other items? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries 1, 2, 3. There's 4 of us. 4-0. Wonderful. Our next agenda item, it's something that always begins, it's like clockwork annually, is a presentation of the Academy Fund. As you can see up on the screen, and for the public that are watching, this is an annual process where proposals that are done by staff are presented, and for our role on the board, we are not approving or picking and choosing. Our main purpose for seeing these both at the committee level here at Finance and then ultimately what will go to the full board is just to see if any of these proposals, what the impact would be for any ongoing expenses to the district after a proposal is implemented. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gallagher. Dr. Gallagher, if you can get your mic on, please, and then give us the rundown for this year. Thank you.
Do you have your finger up, Tim? Tim.
Oh, because he was switching the camera.
I'm sorry,
yes,
you're the
good.
Cameraman. You're the stage manager. Got it. All right, good evening, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Cindy Gallagher. I'm the high school principal. We are very blessed to have the Academy Fund, and I appreciate the way you spoke to them. In terms of this committee, I've been before the Ed Committee already, and so they've taken this all in informationally. I'll just go through what we have going, and I don't know if you're going to push that up or not. The journal is a one-time project. That's the first tab. This would be the second publication coming from Mr. Barry. I have the first publication. It came out just a little bit late, but it's a really remarkable opportunity for our kids to leave with a publication coming out of high school. So this would be our second run. The book club's been a repeat Academy Fund request. This keeps our library up to current. And this is the club. So these are the kids that are reading similar books, and they get to take the books with them. So the library books don't stay with us. The Academy Fund was very generous. They asked for half the money for the current year. And when they realized it was only half, they actually came back and funded all 9 months this year. So this is the 9-month proposal again this year. Culture of literacy is what lets our library expand and stay current with what's out there cross-culturally. So that's been an ongoing repeat. The micro spikes are interesting. Micro Spikes, we have a new hiking club. They're in their 4th year, and this would allow them to do safe winter hiking. These would become property of the Keene High School. So they would stay within the building and be able to be lent out when the groups go out in the winter. Science fair, for those of you that were around, we just did the science fair 2 weeks ago. It may be the largest event that I've seen outside of sports and theater at the high school. We had over 350 guests come through. It looked like a Title I, for those of you who remember Title I family nights in the elementary schools, that's what the high school looked like. It was a combination of our science students doing a fair for experiments where they came in shifts. All of Cheshire Career Center showed up, so there were kids pounding on Resusci Annie's learning EMT stuff. And then perhaps most importantly were the number of community partners that came in. Our hallways were lined with everything possible. The college was there, the hospital was there, the airport was there. They really did a nice job. And they did it on the spur of the moment. And this is 3 of our young faculty members in the science department working with our new curriculum director. So this would enable us to really make that take off. Screenagers is a social emotional video coming out of school counseling, and it comes with a curriculum on it. The Speakers Fit series is well established. A chunk of it goes to the English department. A chunk of it meets the expectations of the strategic plan, bringing career people into classrooms. And then a chunk of it is used to bring big speakers in. So we just had, oh my gosh, Brandon, he's a football commentator that attempted suicide. He came and spoke to our freshmen 2 weeks ago. Anyways, we're using that money to start an assembly process as well. That's well established. In the past, you've seen 2 therapeutic riding programs, one for North Campus and one for Life Skills. North Campus has served its time. The students aren't as excited about it. Life Skills is new, so they're still excited about it. So we only have 1 therapeutic riding program coming in. And then the Youth Mental Health course, this is a collaboration with Monadnock Youth Services. They have the instructors and they train youth to work with their peer groups. What they need is a supply of books. So our contribution is obviously the in-kind of giving them, the students, the location in that space, but this would help cover the cost of books if they can't get that through grants. The one that's missing, that's always hanging out there, is the timeline. The Academy Fund is very, very interested in creating a historic timeline similar to the one at the hospital. I think I finally found the person who did the one in the hospital. The hospital didn't have their vendor's name, and I've started talking to some vendors that do digital timelines, which are interesting. So you actually walk up and touch something and the screens go up. Tim and Ken and I have walked the building and we've identified a location. That is not in here, and it'll go through a different process, but I will be talking with them about that. They've given us the money a number of times, and then we haven't spent it, and so they're asking us to go through the real process. So anyways, I'm looking for a vendor if anybody knows they're tied to the hospital, if anybody remembers who helped with that. I did find a photo that was attributed to a vendor, and I've sent them 3 emails, but it's from 10 years ago, so nobody's replying yet. So that's what you have. I don't see any hidden costs here. These are all either reoccurring pieces or one-and-done pieces. There's no construction ones happening this year. I would have come to facilities to tell you about those, but we didn't have those. There were a couple that people were talking about that just aren't happening. So,
Okay.
Any questions for me?
Questions for Dr. Gallagher? Go ahead, Kevin.
Just a comment. I've witnessed that therapeutic horse riding thing. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to witness it to really feel it, but it's pretty awesome to see these students that don't have these opportunities.
Well, and it's interesting because I think what happens is our students enter some of these programs and they go through for 4 years. So I think every once in a while we do have to take that break, hit pause, let some new kids come in and let some other kids graduate. So I think that's what happened, because I don't think the North Campus program's gone forever. I think it just needed to hit pause because the kids were asking to try something new. We actually used field trip money for those kids and took them down to the Red Sox Stadium and took them on a historic tour. They got to walk behind the green wall and everything. So they're expanding their interest. That's all I got for you.
Other questions? Randy, Chris?
I appreciate your time.
Sure. I do have one question for this historic timeline. You said it's going to go through a different process. So can you just...
It'll come through us. It'll come through our regular donor process, but they're not. It's not. There's not a proposal. Right. There's usually the history timeline's usually on this as historically it's on this document, asking for $50,000, and then we come up and we don't spend it, and so it's not in this document. I'm just noting that it's missing. But during the day of the presentations, we'll be having a conversation about that and how we need to move forward. The Academy Fund doesn't meet regularly. They come together for this one significant donation. So you didn't finish the process, just for the community, if anybody's listening. These now go to the Academy Fund. They have the binders and they evaluate it. Each of the applicants goes and makes a presentation to them. Then they come back and they tell us what they want to donate to us. And then I come back to you guys again to have the board accept the donations. So I'll be back here.
So you're not ready for us yet then?
No, you're
move
taking this in
board.
just purely informational and for me to tell you that there's no hidden ongoing costs.
Okay.
I'll be back either in June or at your very first meeting in August, September for you to accept it.
Okay.
So
very good. Okay. Thank you so much. All right.
Awesome. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everyone.
All right, next up, Mr. Rohr, financial report, please, for 24-25, which is barreling down towards the end.
So in your drive, you should have gotten, actually, my paper copy's on the printer, obviously, but you should have gotten a late edition today. This is a important time of year to do a financial report because we relook at every single employee where we're going to end up in the year for salary and benefits. It's an exhaustive process that we do twice a year. This is the second time we do it. And so everything's been updated on salary and benefits. The big story here is revenue. I've been here 24th year. I've never seen a revenue projection quite like this. We budget for about $1 million surplus in tuition. We're looking at a $212,000 surplus. If everyone that's currently in the school goes till the end of the year, we're going to have $212,000. And if you looked over the last few months, this has been dropping quick. That's kind of scary. I've never seen it like that. At the end of a year, we always have had, before COVID, a tail off. People drop out, people move, they don't finish the year. All kinds of crazy things happen second semester when you can't pass or whatever. That happens, and tuition usually flags off. But I've never seen it quite like this. We budgeted for $12.2 million, which means I had kids adding up to $13.2 million. We now have $12.2 million worth of tuitions. And we're projected right now, if every kid finishes and no one moves in or out, that's $12.5 million that we'll get in tuition. I've never seen it. We'll see where it goes. But that's really close, and I'm going to have to be careful when I budget next year when I set the tuition. That's not a trend I love. So that's concerning. One of the things that could be contributing that I think the board needs to keep an eye on is that the board now has approved a lot of out-of-district people, students, to come here for free. And that will start to make an effect. If you look at the number that we have this year, it's not insignificant. And that seems to be growing because we can't be arbitrary and capricious when we allow someone to come for free under a certain criteria. And I don't want to get into the specifics. Then everybody with that same criteria can ask. And that could be dozens and dozens of students or hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I just want you to have that in your mind as you go through. You think when it's 1, 2, there's no consequences. Well, when it's a dozen or 20 or growing to 30, I know of one right now that you're going to be seeing, and that will have 2 students that are special ed. I mean, the amount of that, if you keep them 10 years, that's $500,000 that you are not collecting or ensuring that you get. So I just want you to keep that in mind because that's coming up, and it's significant. Okay?
Just understood. But wouldn't some of those students include, for instance, when we have a staff member, a teacher, and they
It
want
would.
yeah. So.
But that's not by policy. That was just done by the board on a one-off basis. But once you do that, then that de facto becomes your policy. And if you made that a policy that anybody who works here can bring their students, that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think that's the case with this one, but you're talking $500,000 per student you're expecting as a benefit to working here over a 10-year period is a big benefit.
Right.
And are you doing that on purpose, or is it a slippery slope? I'm not suggesting you go one way or the other. I'm suggesting that revenue is going to be an issue. Keene has relatively high taxes, and one of the things that Keene has is good schools. And it's always been that people are willing to pay for that. But if you could not live in Keene high taxes but get the same education, what incentive are you having? And so as I see this revenue sort of slipping away, I think you as a board should just be aware of those things and make conscious decisions going forward how you want to do that. Boards in the past enforced it rigorously, and we have enforced it less rigorously. And when you just had a few, but it's growing quickly. So I just want you to be aware.
Yeah, understood. And I hear you. And I would also say that when proposals are presented to the board and others, Mr. Roberts or Mr. Filio, you can, feel free to share your input too. We are very mindful to be consistent with our decisions and not set precedents based upon the information that's presented to us.
Yeah.
And there's times where, particularly now as we enter into the spring season, where sometimes a family has moved and they've asked for their child to, finish out the school year. Sometimes those are approved, sometimes they're not, again, depending upon the circumstances. But I just want to make sure it's clear, for the minutes that, I feel personally that we're not, I know you're not saying that we're being cavalier or casual, but I don't want anyone watching to think that we are.
Well, more of a question. Like,
Yeah.
you should ask yourself, are we? Is a $50,000 a year benefit for an employee fair compensation for an employee that might cost you $100,000? They get a 50% bonus. Like, is that, I don't know if it's cavalier. What I'm saying is you should be thinking about it as a board as this grows as an issue.
Right. And some of our teachers might be in, let's say, one part of town where they're sending elementary school might be, let's say, Wheelock, but they work at Franklin. And so that does not come into the equation because they're still a Keene resident. So there's some nuances there too. Yeah. I don't know who had their hand up first. Go ahead.
Yeah, we dealt with this in our district, and I think the important thing to remember, it is a case-by-case basis. You're talking about the slippery slope, which is important to think about. But it's also, in many terms, there's an exception. Someone is moving, but they want their child to finish. And so our policy internally with our board is always, so what's best for the child? You know what I mean? But that then, as a child being so unique and individual from the next child over, is that those circumstances then become just that, circumstances. So, but if there are rules or sweeping things out there that, maybe perhaps that's something to look at, but, maybe for a different discussion at a different time.
Go ahead, Chris.
This one, I understand where Tim is going, and this gets a little touchy, because some of the first questions that we ask the superintendent when he presents this is the child disciplining problem, and is the child special needs problem. And because there's the part, are we giving $18,000 benefit, or we're giving a $52,000 benefit? That's something the board is going to have to look at when because with the special needs, it's one of those, if you don't take that cost factor into, you may having every time you take a special need child, that's the same thing as giving 3 children tuition free. And we're not going to have, that wasn't our policy, but we've created some things over the last 4 or 5 years because we were flush with COVID money. And as the state has learned, and as a lot of school districts have learned, it's all gone. And now we have to go back to where it was before. And as Tim knows, that's if you had a $2 million surplus, you were doing pretty good. He was feeling comfortable. But the last 3-4 years where we have $4 or $5 million surpluses, so we're going to have to have some tough decisions going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Brief comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hearing what Tim's saying, I think in the end, we have to remember that we're elected by the voters of the citizens of Keene, not that somebody lives out of Keene and not somebody that's moving out of Keene. It's the citizens that live in Keene. And I think, as we finish up the school year, that's something we just as a board really need to tighten up. We all know, as you mentioned, what's coming out of the state is not going to be pretty. The taxpayers of Keene who elected us are going to be on the hook. And it's something this summer when school ends, that is something that we need to probably tighten up on and be consistent. Not feel good, just consistent. And sometimes consistency is not feel good, but it is consistent. So I hear what Tim's saying, and I think it's just something that we need to tighten up at the end of the school year. Thank you.
Thank you.
So continuing, and agreed, I think you got my point. I wasn't trying to tell you what you had to do.
Right.
Just think that that's my job to make you aware that you should talk about it and think about it.
Absolutely, yeah. And I understood you also, Tim. I just wanted to sort of
Agreed.
show the other side too for folks that may not be aware. Yeah.
Thank you. So that's the revenue picture. Essentially, we're down in revenue where we usually are, and we're looking at about a $600,000 revenue surplus. And just in tuition, we normally get $1 million plus, so unusual. So what you want to pay particularly close attention to in here is the changes in salary and benefits. There's been a number of budget transfers that we have approved out of salary lines where we've had those transfers, and those lower the amount of surplus in salary and benefits to cover things like lots of purchase services and other things. And so you're seeing the reflection of that. You can see that in regular instruction, we've dropped about half of our surplus that we had last month. Special instruction actually increased, and that's because last time we looked at this was in the fall. I took the vacancies and I made some projections on who we were going to hire and who we weren't, and tried to fit that in. But it looks like we're going to end up in about $1 million in salary and benefits. Out-of-district tuition surplus continues to go down. It's gone down by, I think, close to $300,000, $400,000 since last month. And you can see purchase services is going to need some more transfers because that's negative $63,000. Vocational instruction is going to have a surplus. We've had a number of vacancies in the Cheshire Career Center, which is what that would represent. Student activities is going to have some surplus, a little bit based on salary and benefits. And then summer school, we had about a $28,000 surplus. Guidance services is actually a little negative in salary and benefits. And purchase service is going to have about a $15,000 surplus. Health services is about even, and it does have a large purchase service amount of about $47,000. Those are for L&A services. Psych services is positive in salary and benefits. We haven't had a psychologist at the we're supposed to have 2 at the elementary level. We've had 1, for example, and we've had others that we couldn't fill. Speech services is close to even. It's a little bit positive in salary and benefits. OT and PT you can see is $112,000 to the good. Staff curriculum, it's always hard for me to tell where we're going to end up and what trainings we're going to do, but I am seeing at least $26,000 in surplus in that. Media services is close to even at $6,700 positive in salary and benefits. SAU, that's done at the beginning of the year. We know exactly what we're going to spend. Building services, we have some more transfers to make. We've also been able to hire like we haven't been in years, and it's really nice. We're fully staffed right now, and we're looking good, but we're going to have about $300,000 surplus in that line item. Maintenance, we need to do a budget transfer. We're $63,000 in the hole. That'll likely come from salary and benefits. So the net's there. Transportation services, special ed transportation became more negative by a little bit. I think around $17,000. Field trips, I think we're going to be positive about 20. Athletics improved quite a bit. We did some budget transfers for one, and we took that out of vocational transportation, so you'll see that one went down to $13,000 positive. Tech support services, we're going to have at least $40,000 in surplus, 15 in equipment and 25 in software. And that brings us down to a net available of about $3 million. Last month we showed 3.6 million. We will have a boon at the end of the year when all these purchase orders don't get all wrung out of about $500,000, but we could be below our estimate. We'll wait and see. There's a lot of purchase orders. I have $80,000 in purchase orders for legal services, for example. Well, perhaps those are overdone and it might even be greater, and we could see as much as $1 million improved. I'm really hoping to hit that $4 million mark, but it's tighter than it has been in a long time. Any questions?
Any questions for Tim?
Nope, good.
Okay, very good. All right, next up, Dr. White for our Title I presentation. Where would it be best for Ben to sit for the camera right there with our angles? Okay.
Well, I have the camera on.
Excellent.
Let me get Mr. Bailey's seat ready for him.
Appreciate you.
Sorry, say it again.
To recommend the board.
Oh, right, yes. Sorry, I was cruising along here.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 to send the
Yeah, this one first.
okay.
Okay, thank you for
Go
having
ahead.
us.
Sure.
As we've done in years past, I'm going to tag team a little bit. So Sean Bailey, our supplemental learning manager, is going to walk you through a brief overview of Title I, specifically what it's for, how much we generally get, and some of the finer details. Won't go too deep. And then I'm going to walk you through some of our current spending and where we're going for next year. And then we'll leave some time for questions. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bailey, and he'll slide through.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, how are you, Sean? Thanks for coming in tonight.
Of course. How close do I need this thing to me?
That's all right.
Okay. All right. Are we in control of this thing?
No, you're not. You have nothing
Okay.
to control over.
Okay.
You just,
Yeah.
you say slide down.
Oh, slide down.
Right.
Yeah.
And then,
I'll move over
and then
here
when
'cause
you
I'm
need
making
it to
you
move
nervous.
up the slide, Sean,
You do your thing.
just let Tim know and he'll drive the slide movement for you for what's on the screen.
So Title I is a huge part of our schools. We access it mostly at our elementary schools, but it just provides a lot of support and needs for our schools that are not in our local budgets, and we use it for providing children supplemental support by giving them enriched, accelerated programs to help them, meet the needs that they have, their educational needs. Next slide. So how can we spend our funds? There's lots of ways that we can spend it. Certified teachers, we can put it towards salaries, summer programs, pre-K, tutoring, all sorts of great things, coordinators, administrators, support staff, anything that our students might need. We are, able to help them a lot through Title I in our different ways that we allocate our funds. We can't give it to principals. Superintendents can't use this for their salary. We do give. Sometimes we can do for furniture, sometimes not. We can't do incentives with it, but it's really to drive our students' needs, to give them the extra support that they'll need to be successful in their day-to-day school activities. Next slide. So our total allocation for this year is about 1.25 million. We've currently budgeted around 1.1 million. And what we fund for is our summer schools, our family engagement nights, which are a massive draw at our elementary schools. We do allocate money to McKinney-Vento, after school activities like tutoring. We do have to give equitable services off to our non-public schools in the area, of course, adjustment counselors, behavioral interventionists, whatever our principals and staff are deciding will be most helpful for our students to be successful. So it varies a little bit at the different schools based off what their needs are, but usually those are the things that we're allocating our funds for at this point in time. Franklin School receives the most money, just based off of the free and reduced lunch count that they have there. It is the highest. So Franklin has the most funds. Then we also have Wheelock and Fuller, who are currently both Title I schools for this year. Next slide. These are the private schools that get funds from Title I. So we do allocate funds to Trinity, St. Joe's, Cedar Crest, and AVA. That is all based off of the students who attend their schools who would attend our public schools, our Title I public schools. So I meet with the principals and we go over, who would be attending our Title I schools, and that is how we gain our allocation for our equitable services, and they can use it similar to how we can. Okay. We did recently restructure a little bit of our Title I. We do usually have our reading specialists directly involved with the program. They deliver, letters as well as other academics to our students. They work with our classroom teachers directly and our paras, and to make sure that our students are receiving quality instruction every day from our Title I teachers and paras to make sure that they are making real growth. We do assess the students and look at all their data and specifically into their data to make sure that we know what each child is missing to give them what they need. Literacy and math, whatever the issue is, they're happy to help with this. Next slide. We did move last year into a slightly different model with a certified teacher running multiple of our Title I programs. In the past, it's been a few paras working together under the reading specialist to give the students what they need. But we did decide to move towards certified teachers. So at a couple of our schools, we do have a certified teacher running our programs, meeting with the staff and implementing the lessons to ensure. So we really like the idea of going to that certified teacher with this, so the kids can get exactly what they need and so that a professional is in charge. Next slide. So as we talked about slightly, we do have other people who are involved with this, like adjustment counselors. So at Wheelock, Fuller, and Franklin this year, we do have adjustment counselors who are paid for through Title I. They deepen the family involvement. They really, it's that tie to the school and home, trying to create that draw to keep the parents involved as possible, because that is a huge aspect. We want the parents involved with our schools. So the adjustment counselors are a huge part of that community creation and outreach as well. We do have behavioral interventionists at Franklin School who is through Title I. They work in a different way than our adjustment counselors and work very deeply with their adjustment counselor they work with, but they focus more on zones of regulation and behaviors and trying to make everybody as helpful for our students who needs that type of intervention and not just academic intervention. So our behavioral interventionist is crucial for Franklin School. She is a very busy lady, that's for sure. Next slide. We have run our summer school through Title I, Camp KSD. We are going into our third year. We're really excited about the upcoming summer. We've had 2 wonderful summers. Over the past 2 years, we've run this at Franklin and Simon School, incoming first and second graders and incoming third and fourth graders. And we really want to make sure that we're limiting their summer loss and having them as ready for the next school year as possible. So we base off the attendees off their Ames Web scores, and we are taking the kiddos with the highest need who can access our program during the summer. So like I said, our goal is to limit their summer loss and make sure they're coming back to the next school year as strong as possible. Next slide. Oh,
Can you hear me? This one is a really excellent investment that we provide for Keene eligible families. And this year we're going into it probably going to be very fully staffed in terms of our returning staff and the students that are going to be entering into that program. We did some research on this in last year's cohort, and we actually found some interesting results where they did prevent a higher degree of aggression over the summer from the spring benchmark to the fall than other typical students. So that was really interesting, and we're going to continue to run those research studies, and we'd be more than happy to present those at an ed committee, but also to make those available to this group as well.
next slide. So we do focus on math and reading during Camp KSD. We want to, just really bolster those skills throughout the summer. The Simon special focus was on animals. Franklin had a science special focus. But our staff is all highly qualified folks. They're certified teachers from the district and paras from our district as well. We do have a few classroom assistants as well sprinkled in there, but it's all folks who do a really, really quality job and give our students not just a good educational experience, but a wonderful summer experience as well. Our students love attending Camp KSD, and we've received just overwhelming positive feedback for the program itself. Next slide. They go on all sorts of field trips. So one of the groups went to Sea Science Center, which is a super engaging, activity-filled museum. Lots of hands-on opportunity for our kids, so they're really excited once they're there. And it's just a plethora of just different things that they're allowed to do and explore and do it in a joyful manner. So that's Sea Science Center. Next slide. They also went to Mariposa Museum over in Peterborough. It's a World Cultural Center, and it really does an awesome job of showing other world cultures and how we can connect and celebrate our differences and celebrate our similarities and our heritage. So this was a wonderful place for our kids to go and just view a different side of life that we don't always get to get in our little corner of the world. Next slide. And then we also went to the Friendly Farm with our younger students who, they always love opportunities like this. In a clean and safe opportunity to get up close and personal with some farm animals and learning how to take care of them. There's different activities through there, so they had a really wonderful time going off to the Friendly Farm. Like I said earlier, we are really proud of our family engagement nights. It's a really incredible way to get our parents back to the buildings and build a stronger community between our parents and our schools. They put on fabulous, fabulous nights that are educationally built. Could be around reading or math. Fuller just put on an awesome STEM night that had, I think it was like 400 or 500 people. And I know that their county fair often brings up to 600-700 people. So it really does an incredible job of bringing our community to the school, having a wonderful night. I get to see Ben and his kids there, having a great time. It's just a wonderful way to bring us together. And then oftentimes, I know Franklin, they like to give out books and stuff for our kids to have summer reading. So it's lots of opportunities for all sorts of different things. McKinney-Vento is our homeless population, so this is another aspect of Title I that we have to do, but it is a feel-good feeling because helping our neediest students be successful in school is a wonderful feeling. We do have a lot of students who are considered MV this year, and we do access our Title I funds to help them have the best school experience they can have while living in turmoil. So it does feel really good to know that we are helping students continue to meet their own needs, their basic needs of supplying them with clothing. We can get them toiletries and all sorts of things that they don't have the money or have access to, and that we can supply them with this so they're not coming to school dirty, coming to school embarrassed, that they're sticking out like a sore thumb. So it is wonderful that we allocate our funds to help them with that. We also will transport students to school if we can. It's been a brutal year for transportation, but we do mileage reimbursement as well. We want to make sure that our families who are already struggling aren't struggling even more just to get their kids to school. So we will pay for them to get their kids to school and home. We will pay for their gas. So lots of different aspects for our McKinney-Vento students come from Title I. Next slide. Wheelock, Franklin is going to be doing it as well. They're going to be having tutoring, summer tutoring, and it's just to make sure that our students are not falling through the cracks. They're getting what they need. None of these kids are on IEP, so we want to make sure that they are getting the services that they do need to make sure that they're being successful and can continue on to higher grades with what they need. Excellent. So that in a nutshell is how we spend our Title
All right,
I.
and maybe we'll dive into this before questions, if that's okay, Chair.
Sure.
Okay.
Keep going.
Very small. This is a working document, and so I want this to not be something that you can take and broadcast, but really it's just a way to show you under the hood of how we're looking at the Title I grant. It does have clickable links, and I've provided to you this in the past with the ESSER funding so that you can click any of these and you can go in and see all the details, pretty transparent of what's in the actual system without having access to our grant system. And if you can scroll down a little bit, Tim, wherever's got the control, all the way to the bottom, keep going, right there. So this will show real time of where we're projected at. So what Sean showed you was what's in the system. I'm using this with Sean as an active things that are in the hopper, ready to be queued up to go into the grant, and so that we can manage how much money we have left to spend and how many dollars we have to commit to certain schools. Smoke detector in my house. How many dollars we have to commit to certain schools, such as Sean had mentioned, Franklin School is our highest free and reduced population. So the most important thing is that school has to receive the most amount of funds above all the other schools. If you look at this, you can see we have an estimated $61,000 left to spend for this school year, meaning that those grant funds will end September of next year, the end of September. And we generally try to buffer a little bit of money to provide some opportunities in the summer. So being spent down about 61 grand is pretty good at this point. I imagine we're going to expend the rest of that probably in this school year. And there's some projects that Sean had mentioned for both Wheelock and Franklin to provide some more summer tutoring opportunities. With that being said, if you have any questions, both Sean and myself are more than willing to go into any kind of detail that you would like.
Any questions before I ask a question? Okay. You know how you said you've been tracking and doing the research with the, Keene summer camp to see the improvements? With the Wheelock tutoring, are you also tracking that and seeing a similar trend or not tracking it?
So the Wheelock would be a new program. We haven't offered that program
Okay.
yet. So both the Franklin and Wheelock summer tutoring would be new. I believe that we're going to track those results the same way that we do the Camp KSD results as well.
Okay, great. Ben and Sean, thank you so much for coming in and presenting this. I'll also speak with Mr. Downing and suggest that we get this presentation and then the links, the spreadsheet into our full board drive for our upcoming meeting, just so the rest of the board has quick and easy access to it. Great. Thank you so much. All right. And if the two of you, can just turn off your mics, that would be great. Thank you so much. All right. Our next item, we've got a few gifts in the drive. Our first one is very generous donation in the amount of $5,000 from Town Fair Tire. They're offering a vocational school toolship award to 5 students who are completers of any of our CTE programs. And those will be offered or presented to those 5 lucky students who complete at the awards night here at the end of May. So again, very generous gift from Town Fair Tire. Can I have a motion to recommend to the full board the acceptance of this gift with gratitude?
Second,
Okay.
graciously accept.
Graciously accepted. Wonderful. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Great. Carries 4-0. Our next gift, or no, that was the only one, right? That's right, we had 3 transfers, 1 gift, or do you have another? That's it. Okay, excellent. All right, gifts are done. Let's move on to budget transfers. First one is for Keene High School, and this is for speech contract. It says as in, I'm assuming, a contractor. We're moving it from salary line.
Yeah, it's a purchase service to hire contracted speech services, and it would be paid for using a surplus in high school teacher salary.
Okay, right. If the rest of the committee is comfortable, I suggest we go through the 3 budget transfers and then we can vote on all of them with one motion. Excellent. All right. Our next one is for $15,000. This is for school board, special ed, attorney fees. This is for the middle school to, it's, as it says, account for additional funds to cover unforeseen or increased legal expenses specific to that grade level, and ensuring that we've got adequate resources for necessary legal representation or services. Is there anything else that you need to touch on with that, Tim? Okay.
No, and this is just moving from one level of those services to another. As you know, in Keene, most of our accounts are broken into required elementary, middle, and high school. So we're finding that more of the money is being spent at the middle school level. So we're just asking to switch a little, 5,500 from elementary of the same purpose and 95 into the middle school. So we're just rebalancing those 3 accounts.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. And then our last one is for Cheshire Career Center in the amount of $35,000 to cover repairs and maintenance for our construction and woodworking labs. And that looks like it's coming out of a salary line item.
So specifically, we have a lab that is currently closed and it needing electrical repairs, and the electrical repairs are twofold. A small part of this is related to refixing the safety system. That is a emergency button that shuts all the equipment off in an emergency. That went bad and it needs to be replaced. That lab has been shuttered waiting for that repair. The other thing they want to do is rework where many of the machines sit and how it's organized. And those changes are very costly and should only be done when we have to do it for a much better purpose, not based on I got a new a new teacher this year or a new director, because it's very costly. We're talking at least $25,000 of this is for the reshuffle. And so that's important to note, that when we reshuffle, it's really expensive. And then if you get a new teacher next year and you change, I'm not suggesting that's why it's happening. I'm just suggesting we have to be very careful. I think that it's time they did this. It had been moved around and just not safe, but we just have to be careful. Also, they're paying for a tag-out lockout system, which they should be required to have. We shut down the machine tool a couple of years ago, Ken and I, and we didn't let them open until they had that in place. So this is all around safety and needed. And so they want to transfer the money from salary line where they have additional surplus because they have vacancies. But keep in mind, every time we do this, this isn't free money. it's changing that picture I gave you. It's essentially surplus spending.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Any questions for Tim before we get a motion? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the budget transfers as presented?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carries 4-0. Okay. Also, we're well over, but let's just make a note for the minutes that public input is closed. All right, next up, budget process. I'm assuming, Tim, that this is what I feel like we started last year at your request. Maybe it's been longer, where just sort of a postmortem, if you will, what went well this past budget cycle, what we might want to change or add while it's still fresh in our minds. I don't know if anybody has anything that comes top of mind tonight. If not, of course, bring that up either at the next meeting or email Tim directly and copy me and Mr. Downing. Yes, Kevin.
I think we'll be closer to the end, and you're going to start unencumbering things, and you get a much better sense of what's going to be. I don't know that I have anything more other than the report tonight, but which is giving us a pretty clear picture, at least at this moment.
Okay. Great. Okay. Update on the cyber attack, please. Which last I heard, we were down to a very small amount that.
We're holding steady at $26,000 and working through our insurance company to collect the additional of that. We'll have a $1,000 deductible, but I expect us to be fully restored minus that $1,000 at some point.
Kudos.
Thank you.
That is excellent.
I'm excited
Thank you
about
so-
that.
Yeah. Okay. Next up is Project Keep.
So, as you know, we have to collect some outstanding debt for Project Keep. And we can talk further in non-public about some other stuff, but briefly. Last time we talked about this, what I would like to do is send bills out. I need the board's approval to discount those bills. Given everything that happens, I'd like to send bills out to those that collect money. I need the board to grant two things. One is my plan to collect the money, which would be to send bills out that said if you pay it in 30 days, you get a 40% discount or pay 60% of your bill. If you send the money back within 60 days, you get a 20% discount or 80% of the bill paid. If you want to set up a payment plan or take longer, then we would still discount that by 10%, given the hardship, or 90% paid. And then I need the authority to do some special circumstances that we talked about last time. There's some debt that I'd like to forgive, specifically for one where I know someone put the money in, set it up. We did not take the money, even though we had numerous complaints that they weren't taking the money out of their accounts, and they lost that money because it was in an FSA tax shelter, and since it wasn't spent, it was gone. Not the entire bill was lost, but on this one, I would forgive the part that was taken. But I need the ability to do that. As you know, it's not my authority to give discounts with other people's money. So I treat other people's money like my own, and more so because I don't have the authority to be the good guy with the district's money. And I don't want to do special favors, but I think this is fair. And I think it's the quickest way we can get the most money we can get. I think it's very difficult to go out and just try to collect this, and it's going to create a lot of hardship. This is, I think, a win-win for those that are involved. We can't afford to forgive it all because the program is over $100,000 in debt, essentially going out of business. If we can collect this, we will be in much better financial shape.
Okay. And I'm trying to remember from, I think it was 2 or 3 meetings ago when George was here, and you were still working through it. if he wanted it to ultimately, if he was looking for a recommendation, we're obviously here at finance, but if it was ultimately going to have to be decided at a full board level.
So that was at the last finance committee meeting. And we were going to take it to the full board, but what happened, we did that in non-public, did not take a vote. And what happened was I was sick at your next board meeting.
At that
And
last
so,
board
no,
meeting.
right, so no one else brought it up, and probably rightly so. But I would want you to make a recommendation to the full board for their approval.
Right. I would think it would be for the 3 tiers of payment plans, and then as well,
For special circumstances, give me the authority to allow that. You have a question over here.
Chris is parliamentarian. Should we do that as 2 separate motions, both the payment plans? Okay. And somebody had a question. Yes, go ahead, Kevin.
Just a quick question, not to get into details here, but you had come up with a percentage, not that we don't need to talk about it, but are you still confident that you're at that same amount for this plan that you have? A percentage of recouping.
I think this gives us the best chance to get the most return. I think if we just sent bills out, we'll struggle to hit 50%. And I think with this, we should hit over 60%, probably averaging around 70%, which makes me feel fair.
And that's where we need to be in order for this program to continue, right? I mean, it's going to at least
We
get
need-
us back
yes.
to some level of beyond zero to.
Yes.
So we need at least 50% coming back to us to continue Project Heat. Okay. Bear with me, I'm just taking notes on that last item. Are there other questions or comments? Okay. So then I'll can we have a motion to allow the business office to set up and offer payment plans, those being pay in 30 days at a 40% discount, 60 days at a 20% discount, or offer a long-term payment plan with a 10% discount.
So moved.
Second.
And I heard you say recommend to the full board.
Yes, recommend to the full board. Sorry, I was focused on my
I heard that.
price points, but yes, recommend to the full board. Okay. All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Carries 4-0. All right. And then I have a motion to recommend to the full board that the business office, our CFO, Tim Rohr, has the authority to work with families that have some special circumstances, to work with them on their payment. That, yep.
Yes, to negotiate an equitable plan.
Thank you. That's much
Payment
better
plan.
wording. Yes.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries 4-0. All right. And then, as you said, Tim, you have more information for us later in non-public. Excellent. Okay. All right. We don't have anything for our special ed standing item unless there's something last minute. Okay. Very good. Any other? Okay. With that, can I have a motion for Finance Committee to move into non-public per RSA 91A?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Can I have a roll call, please? Yeah. Clarifying question, Tim. Mr. Powell is asking if
I don't.
it's not personnel.
I'm
matter.
not going to
Okay.
get into specifics because of your nature and that because
At
you'll
the
be
committee level.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Yep. So you're
Randy Filio, yes.
Jacqueline Headings.
Chris Roberts.
Okay. All right. Great. For those watching from home, thank you for watching. We will pause the video and then, or do you?
We're going to end the video. This will conclude your public portion. There's no votes to be taken. So you'll come out of non-public and just recess the meeting, but no more business will take place. So we're going to end the video.
So that's
And
how we're doing it now with the video.
I